In Ansonia, Connecticut, sits a small square of land. It was set aside in remembrance of the area's Native American past. It's here in the Quillinan Reservoir block of the Naugatuck State Forest. The site is easy to miss in this rocky section of state land, but it still remains a short distance off one of the many trails, the last settlement of the paugussett. The Paugussett Nation once occupied the area from present-day Norwalk to West Haven and north from the Long Island Sound up the Housatonic and Naugatuck rivers. The paugussett were fishermen and farmers. Cleared land and shell middens showed evidence of a long period of highly organized occupation. That was until the English arrived in 1638. And in a very short period of time, the paugussett people were dispossessed of their land. European diseases decimated the population, and many simply moved on to areas west and north. The historical record of this small parcel of land is somewhat confusing, but the story goes something like this. In the early 1830s, there were only a handful of native paugussett left in the area known as the Macs. The local town selectmen purchased a small tract of land for them, helped build 2 small huts for them to live in, and here they lived, 6 men, 3 squaws, and 3 children. The Macs survived by farming, hunting, and fishing. The women were basket makers. They sold these colorful baskets to the local town folks nearby for supplies. Many of these beautifully crafted baskets still remain in museums and private collections. In 1833, a squaw from nearby Milford came here to visit. Soon, she was taken ill. It was smallpox, and shortly after, the entire settlement was sick. They all died, but 1 woman and 2 small children. The town folk buried the dead in the settlement's own gardens. Then, they burned the settlement's huts to the ground to prevent the disease from spreading. The last paugussett village was gone. 100 years later, the Daughters of the American Revolution installed these pillars as a memorial to the paugussett who once lived here. The burial mounds that once were here have been disturbed through the years by souvenir seekers. They're now just shallow depressions. This small enclosed square marks the last settlement of the paugussett, of people who lived here in these woods for thousands of years.